Hi, I'm Jimmy Choi from Arizona State University. I wanted to ask you about Uber's partnership with Carnegie Mellon University and what the investment in the robotics department signifies as far as the outlook on driverless cars and the future of innovation for Uber.
Right. So Carnegie Mellon is well, some of you are probably familiar with it, but it's one of the leading robotics institutions, along with other things. It's located in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So we have a partnership in Pittsburgh, and we have set up what's called the Uber Advanced Technology Center, where we're doing a lot of R&D. Some of it on autonomous, some of it on near-term things like mapping. I mean, there's no doubt that over the coming years, you know, the cars will continue to get smarter, the phones get smarter. That will make transportation safer. We actually, interestingly enough, you're from Arizona State, we have a relationship with the state of Arizona and the University of Arizona because they have some really interesting technology, mirror technology, optical technology. So listen, everyone in the world, whether it's Samsung or Hyundai or Tata or BMW or Apple or Google, Google's most, everyone's looking at autonomous cars. I think our view on it is it's, first of all, 1.3 million people die every year in car crashes. Okay? So that's more people than die of breast cancer, twice as many people who died on D-Day in World War II. So if you could get to a point where that becomes zero or close to zero, that would be an amazing public health outcome. It would also make transportation more safe. Listen, that's not going to happen overnight. That's not a decision Google will make or BMW makes or Uber makes. The world will make it, maybe not in unison. Singapore may embrace that sooner, but it's going to be a while off. The technology is getting better, but it has to be 100% perfect. The production challenges, the adoption challenge, the regulatory challenges. Our sense is it's more of a transition. So even 10, 15 years, whenever it is, when they start to come online in a meaningful way, you're still going to have most people moving around with someone behind the wheel. So it's a ways off. I think it's an exciting future. And it looks more imminent than it is probably because you see cars testing and you see the Google cars on the road. There are trucks doing longer haul routes now without anybody behind the wheel. Some people think trucking will maybe the first place you begin to see real adoption, but it's a ways off. But we're excited about it, and I think in the near term, all the mapping gains, all the other technological gains will make the service better and also help with safety.
Yeah, so my question is, I'm sure women feature as an integral part of your future vision, not just in India, across the world as well. So what are your plans going forward to really have women as partners in Uber's growth, as advocates, as evangelists for what you do all over the world, but particularly in India?
Well, it's a great question. I mean, one of, obviously, we have, a lot of our growth has come from women using the platform from a rider side. So they feel that it's safer than traditional transportation options. In many cases, they feel safer than driving themselves at night. So a lot of our growth has come from women riders. We want to continue to work there. The driver story is really interesting. One other rider story. So Saudi Arabia, 90% of our riders are women. Can't drive yet, unfortunately, but that has been a huge change for them in terms of their mobility options. But on the driver side, we have a lot of efforts here in India with nonprofits to try and get more women on the platform. We've made a commitment to try and get 1 million more women on our platform by the end of this decade. I'll give you some US data. So in US data, 1% of taxi drivers are women. A year ago with Uber, about 10% of our drivers were women. Now we're close to 20%. And in the last 60 days, 30% of the women signing up to drive on Uber were women. So I think part of that is there's a sense, well, I'm not sure, I never really thought about driving a taxi. So this is another place we have to do education, which is, no, you can drive whenever you want. It doesn't have to be late at night if you don't want to. There's no anonymity. You know who the rider is going to be. There's GPS tracking. You rate the rider. This is so important for drivers. Yes, the rider rates the driver, but the driver gets to rate the rider too. And if they're abusive, sometimes they get suspended, even permanently deactivated from the platform. So I think the whole array of safety, we need a lot of help telling that story through partnerships with groups so that people understand, because again, there's just basic information that a lot of people don't have. And once we're able to provide that, you begin to see the numbers of women driving. So I think on the rider side, we just have to continue to make more progress. We've got great partnerships here in India with some groups trying to get women on the platform. My old hometown of Chicago, we have a great relationship with a group called the YWCA, which is a women's organization that tends to deal with women who are in duress. So they're saying, hey, you might have left an abusive situation or you got an economic difficulty. Come drive on Uber. Not forever, just as a bridge. So that's a really powerful use case. People who lose their job, lose some hours, students home, the ability to come and drive for the period of time that makes sense for you. You're not making a lifelong commitment. But this is really, really important. From a business standpoint, it's a source of great growth. But we think from a value proposition standpoint. So we'd encourage all of you to help spread the word that obviously it's a great option in terms of safety and affordability and reliability on riding, but on driving. And we're at the point now, whether it's Delhi or Bangalore or anywhere around the world, we're busy enough all day long that you can drive whenever you want. In the very beginning, when you go into cities, yeah, it's Friday and Saturday night. Now it's anytime. And one of our biggest growing demographics that I can speak about in the States, because we have recent data on this, two interesting, recent retirees and stay-at-home parents, men or women, who now say, I'll take my child to school, I'll drive from 8:30 to noon, and then I'll be done.
Hi, I'm Sandy Huda, co-founder of Vega Schools. I am an entrepreneur. However, a few months ago, I was at a philosopher's retreat.
Wow.
And one of the things that emerged was that technology is mostly evil. Of course, I disagree. I'm curious if Uber has conversations around how you guys can make the world a better place. And if you could share one such conversation.
Well, it's a great question. I do think, listen, I think in society generally, that's an active debate. You see sometimes even people who might use technology all day long, use the services, wonder about is it good for the economy broadly. And I think that debate's heating up. We have that debate all the time. So one of our cultural values is celebrate the cities, and we live that. So our core value proposition, creating a lot of economic opportunity for people who desperately need it, providing accessible, reliable transportation to people who might have been denied it, reducing drunk driving, arrests, and deaths, that is huge benefit. And the environmental benefit, if we can help take an edge off congestion and the resulting emissions, huge. But we go beyond that. I mean, we do a lot of charitable work. We have an interesting platform. So I'll give you an example. During the European refugee, well, it's still a crisis, but at the heat of it, we collected all throughout the continent. If you lived in any country where we had Uber, you could press a button and one of our drivers would come to your home and pick up goods and clothing. We do that all over the world. So we're continuing, so if anybody here has good ideas, we're always ears for how can we also, from a charitable standpoint, from using the uniqueness of our platform, how can we make a difference? But again, we're very focused on the difference I think that our core product offer. And again, that's not why the company was started, to be clear. But as we've grown, we begin to see the potential and begin to see, we think very interesting benefits for cities and society.
Hi, this is Venki, Uber user and David Plouffe fan.
Oh, well, thank you for the first. I'm not sure about your judgment on the second, but yeah.
Okay. So, David, I've read quite a lot of things that you've written, your books and your articles, I think since 2009. Was it, an ideology-driven campaign that you've run for Obama, was it a big shift to come to Uber? Was it a dilemma of sorts, or it was an obvious choice?
Oh, my personal decision?
Yeah, personal decision.
Well, no, I think, I think one of the, it's interesting, Ahmet and I were talking about this. Like most startups, we are a very young company, so we raised the age a little bit when we joined, right? But with age comes some wisdom, you'd like to think. And one of the things I've learned is, you have to be passionate about what you're doing, and you have to know when you're all in and when you're ready to be done. So for me, Barack Obama's campaign was very personal. He was someone I knew quite well, had worked for a long time. For me to be involved in a campaign that was centered around optimism and hope and grassroots was the dream of my lifetime. Politics in the US, like a lot of countries, can be small and petty, and it's about sound bites and it's about money. But this was about something bigger. So it was a privilege of a lifetime for me to stand by with millions of his supporters to help get him elected and then help him serve. But I was done with my political time. It's also a game for the very young, and it was time to hand over the baton. So for me, I wasn't necessarily looking to go into a company full time, and I certainly wanted to rebalance my life and spend more time with my family. But I was an avid Uber user before I got the call from Travis, and I really met with him more on just sort of an interest. I didn't think it would go anywhere. But as I learned more about where this could go, we would just have very spirited discussions about, obviously we have business aims, but just think about what this could mean in terms of the number of people making money on the platform. And so I had just come out of the White House in Washington in government, where every day, even as the economy recovered from an unemployment rate standpoint and from a growth standpoint, people weren't feeling much better. And I had yet to see an answer on scale to the question of, how do we get more wages into more people's hands? So there's the job question, which is core. But even if you begin to fix the job thing, you're not getting wage growth. You're getting more of it here and in China than you are in the US, certainly. So I was passionate about that. And I'm also passionate about cities. And you look at, okay, there's already too many people in almost all of our cities. And over the next 10 years, a lot more of them are going to come. And most cities do not have the opportunity to refashion themselves. Maybe they can add a road, maybe not even a road, a lane here or there. Maybe they can extend some public transportation. But the only answer is to reduce the number of cars. And for me also, I think that to learn new things as you get older is really important. And I was very personally excited about, I'm going to learn a lot. There's a lot of things I don't know. And I'm going to be surrounded by people a lot smarter and younger than I am who are going to help me teach that. And so every day I learn something new. And I think that's really important. So I think I know a lot about how to run and win a presidential campaign. But I know less about this. And so I'm really excited because I'm challenged every day in a new way. And I think that's a blessing, really. But again, I think for me, there's a consistent track for, I'm a progressive from a political standpoint. So providing transportation to those in need who've been discriminated against, who didn't have that, all day long. Doesn't have to be a government program for me to be excited about it. And providing that kind of wage growth and job creation for that many people, again, even though it's not a government program, is something I could not be more excited about. So I think there is a continuation.
Thank you, David.
Thank
this
you.
was great.
Yeah.
Thank you for the audience for great
Great questions, yeah.
Shireen, thank you very much.